Better, it's more than just a word.
It's a promise to give our best, develop better technology, create better care, invest in better access.
When you help our veterans get better, it means constantly pursuing your best.
There are thousands of us giving our best every day to heal millions of veterans. Because this is more than a career. This is your life's work.
Hello, happy Tuesday, and welcome to VA Careers Live, Talk About It Tuesday. My name is Tim Blakeney. I'm a National Healthcare Recruitment Consultant for the Veterans Health Administration and your guest host for today's show. First off, I want to thank you for joining us. We know that your time is valuable, and we appreciate that you spend some of that time with us each week and we talk about VA careers. Since it's the second Tuesday of the month, our regular viewers know that this is a question and answer day. Mike is taking the day off. If you happen to be joining for the first time, these questions are selected from those audience members like you that have submitted across our social media this past week. So keep those questions coming. But before we begin, I want to remind you that we want you to be part of the conversation. So feel free to leave any comments or questions for us in the comments section below, and our team will do their best to answer your questions and address your comments. With that said, let's get some of the questions that came up. So, first question of the day is, when will you be accepting applications again for the Warriors to Workforce program? Thank you very much for that question. There's going to be a link that's going to be placed in the chat by my colleagues who are supporting me here today. The link where I found this information is, again, being posted in here. It's something called the Acquisition Academy at VA. The last cohort for the Warriors to Workforce program was in August of 2022 when I looked at this link. However, once you go to this site, you're going to see a lot of information on the program. So I encourage you to go there and ask any questions about this particular Warriors to Workforce program. And more importantly, there's an email address which you'll find there. Again, I think they're going to post it in the chat box so that you can use that email address. But I encourage you to go to the URL or the link and do some searching to find out all that you can. And then reach out to them via the email that they have there. So hopefully that'll answer your question. Second one is, what are the telework options with the VA? Are you allowed to report in quarterly if you live 8 hours from your assigned duty station? So let me explain telework, because I think the way this question is worded, there may be a misunderstanding what telework is to the VA. First, a VA employee who does telework typically has an official duty station where they work. A supervisor will approve you to do telework in certain situations. And then if you are approved, there's a couple of telework options. One of them is ad hoc, where you can be off on occasion or not, routinely working at a location which is not your normal duty station. We also have regular telework and recurring telework. And this allows the employee to work at an alternate work site, like your home, for instance, on a regular, recurring, and ongoing basis, let's say 2, 3, or maybe even 4 days a week. Employees on this agreement may telework as little as 1 day per month or as many as 5 days a week. The VA also does remote work, where the employee will perform their work on a full-time basis anywhere other than a VA facility or a VA lease facility. So for the second part of your question, if you are on a telework agreement, regardless of where you are, you could be asked to report to work, no matter where you're at. So I would encourage everyone who's looking at VA opportunities to fully read the announcement and make it to determine, what's being asked by the VA. It could say that telework may be authorized, and it could say that the position is remote. So depending on what it says will determine what is available. So hopefully that clarifies telework and remote work a little bit, but there you go. The next question came and says, when submitting an application, should the applicant submit the SF-50 with their disability letter? So the way I'm going to answer this is when you look at an announcement on USA Jobs, the announcement's going to specifically tell you what forms need to be submitted with an application. If it asks for the SF-15, then please go ahead and make sure you do that. So if for some reason it's not asked for, normally it is because they try and cover all the bases. Provide it, especially if you're going to be claiming a veteran's preference. This is what the SF-15 does, is it shows your veteran's preference, whether that's a 10, 15, 30-point preference. This is what it's for. So again, just follow the instructions on the announcement. So next question that came to us is, does the VA consider military experience the same as civilian experience? Short answer to your question is yes, it does. I'm going to say that all your experience, regardless of where you received it, should be on your resume. My colleagues will place a couple of URLs in the chat box that discuss translating your military experience onto a resume. So whether you're seeking a position with the VA or something in the private sector, these sites will be valuable to you in making the employer understand that experience that you gained in the military, how to translate it. These sites, one of them comes from Military One Source, another being from military.com. And again, the links are being placed in the chat box. I want to say that, Google can be your friend. There are many sites that, out there that are being placed in the chat box out there. Do your homework and present your very best resume to whomever is making them excited to reach out to you. That didn't make a whole lot of sense. Anyways, so put your best foot forward, and whoever's reading your resume, make them excited so that they can be, they'll reach back out to you. So anyways, next question is, what is direct hire authority? I applied for a job that was listed under a direct hire authority, and I'm not sure what that all entails. Also, what are the next steps for a person selected for a position under a direct hire authority? So a direct hire authority is simply an appointing authority that the Office of Personnel Management, OPM, gives to federal agencies like the VA for filling vacancies when a critical hiring need or a severe shortage of candidates exists. So you applied for a position that was a critical need, or there just weren't enough candidates. And that's what made it, eligible for direct hire. If you applied for a position under the direct hire authority, candidates with, we had a severe shortage of candidates with that experience that you have and the qualifications needed. So the next steps, if selected, you would be instructed on the onboarding process. My colleagues are going to place a link in the chat box that will take you to the Office of Personnel Management, OPM, for more information on direct hire authority. So a lot of information out there by OPM on that subject. Next question is, I've applied for several positions under direct authority in which I meet qualifications, but I have not received a response. Can you give me insight? So I just answered the question above on what direct hire authority is. Let me just say, I'm happy to hear that you meet the qualifications of the announcement you applied for, because that means you either meet a critical need of the VA or you're one of the few qualified people that we're looking for. It's difficult to tell you, why you haven't received a response. I'm just going to say that there's a notification of a response. It's a NOR message that usually goes back out to you, an applicant, via the USA Staffing job system. These notifications are sent a number of times. You're sent that when you send your application in, you should receive a notice saying that we've received that application. When you've been referred to a hiring manager, you should get one of those notices. So hopefully you're getting those notices. So, but in light of those notices, you should, I encourage you to reach out to the point of contact on the announcement and ask for a follow-up. And if you actually interviewed, reach out to whoever did the interview and ask them what your status is and where you're at in the process. Next question is, can you elaborate on the difference between TPD and TDIU? So I mentioned earlier that Google could be your friend. I had to use Google on this one because I had no idea what TPD and TDIU were. So Google told me that it says that if you're totally and permanently disabled, as defined in our regulations, which was on the student.gov site, a total and permanent disability discharge relieves you from having to pay your federal student loans or to complete your teacher education assistance for Google and higher education grant service obligation. My colleagues are going to paste a link on TPD in the chat box to better help you understand. I sure hope that, with what I did with Google, that this is the TPD that you're talking about. So what is TDIU? Stands for Total Disability Individual Unemployability. It's a rating for veterans who can't work due to their service-connected disability. Veterans who can't obtain or keep employment because of their injuries or conditions stemming from their time in service may be granted a TDIU. A link to VA disability is, again, going to be placed in the chat box. If this did not answer your specific question, I hope the links provided will help you understand the difference, at least in what I found. So thank you for the question. It was interesting because it made me look. The next question is, can you share insights on the TCF program positions? So TCF stands for the Technical Career Field, and the VA has a program. This program offers 2 years of training in critically identified positions within specific career fields in accordance with the Veterans Health Administration Succession Workforce Plan. So there's going to be any number of them. Program participants receive a salary, benefits, training, travel, stipend, access to a preceptor, mentor, and hands-on training. These needs change, so I'm going to ask my colleagues to place a link to this program in the chat box. The link is going to tell you everything you need to know about the TCF program. It's right there. It'll tell you the various fields that are offered and how to apply and so forth. So good luck with that. What tips do you have to get an interview? So I guess what I would say there is, write a good resume. Do a cover letter letting the hiring manager know what you have to offer and tell them that you're the best candidate for the job. Read the announcement, and as much as you can, tailor your resume to not only show that you have the experience and skills necessary for the position, but again, that you're the best qualified for the position. So with those things, hopefully, if you truly are that best candidate, then you will get an interview or, one of the better candidates. So again, good luck. Is the direct hire process any faster for federal positions? So a VA position where we can do a direct hire is not necessarily any faster, if I'm understanding your question. And I say that because the selection can be quicker, but still as a new hire, you're going to have to complete all the onboarding. Onboarding is affected by several things and can be lengthy or short depending upon what is needed. So the onboarding process can, again, be lengthy or short, just depending. So there you go. My next question is, can you briefly describe direct hire for a 10-point preference, please? I have addressed direct hire in a couple of previous questions. Please refer to the chat box for links on direct hire. The Office of Personnel Management definition for a 10-point preference is a 10-point preference eligible is a veteran or eligible family member of a veteran who served at any time, was discharged or released from active duty in the armed forces under honorable conditions. It also says they have a compensable service-connected disability, has a present service-connected disability, or is receiving compensation, disability, or retirement benefits, or a pension from the military or Department of Veteran Affairs, has received a Purple Heart. The veteran must have been discharged under honorable or general conditions. Certain spouses, widows, widowers, or parents of veterans may be entitled. So hopefully that'll answer your question on 10-point veterans preference. Does a veteran like myself have to have connections to get a career going with the VA? So getting a position with the VA is not about having connections. You know, obtaining an opportunity with the VA is about being the best qualified candidate that applied. So resumes that show you, submit a resume that shows you're the best, presenting well during an interview. Those are the things that are going to get you hired by the VA, not connections. As far as I know, connections aren't going to do anything for you. They might be able to answer some questions, but they're not going to get you hired. You yourself need to put your best foot forward, write a great resume, and make sure everybody knows that you are the best. So, the last question is, once my application has been submitted, what are the best ways to follow up with the recruiter/hiring manager? So you're, following up with the recruiter or the hiring manager, I'm not sure that you're going to know who the recruiter is or the hiring manager just by applying. You'll be able to speak to the hiring manager if you are sent over, referred for an interview. So if that happens, then I would tell you to, pose your questions at the end of the interview as far as when are they going to make their decision, that kind of thing, and whether or not you could reach back out to them at a certain point. Just ask them, but get their contact information if you can. As far as when you do your application on USA Jobs, there is a point of contact, phone number and email. So if you have questions about the application or the process of that application, where you're at, give them a call, send them an email. So anyways, those are the end of my questions. I'm going to go and look and see if I have the producer here did send in some additional questions from you today. So I have a moment. I'm going to go ahead and answer them. Says, I've been told by a VA HR person that they don't count military experience or veteran status for nursing positions. Is that correct? Honestly, I don't know the answer to that, but I'm going to say on the surface, I don't believe that to be true. All experience and veteran status should be counted. So I'm going to have to take that one back. I'll do some research on it and we will answer it again at a later date. But again, on the surface, your military experience and your veteran status should count for each and every position within the VA. So does the VA do internal transfers? Interested in a VSR position in another state, no PCS required, already in position. So I remember answering this one probably a few months ago. The VA does do internal transfers. There is a program for that. And I would encourage you to get on the intranet or intranet, you're a VA employee, and look at internal transfers. There is a program, but there's certain criteria that has to be met. I don't know all of that criteria, but it will be listed there. And again, if maybe you submit that question later, and we'll do the research for you and get it answered. So with that, I don't see any other questions from the producer. So I'm going to go to my closing. We'll go ahead and wrap up for today. I hope the information has helped you in some way. For those of you who have submitted questions, thank you for taking the time to reach out to us and be part of the broadcast. We certainly appreciate your interest. If you submitted questions that we didn't get to this week, we want you to know that we'll do our best to get those in a future broadcast, or we'll reach out and get you an answer in the comments section. So looking ahead, if you have any questions or comments that you would like for us to address in future broadcasts, be sure to reach out and let us know. Your questions will make it into episodes in the future. Finally, if you have additional questions that weren't answered today or need more information, please visit us at www.vacareers.va.gov or drop a comment on here, on LinkedIn, or other social media accounts. Again, thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you next week. Thank you.